The last TV.
Oh, yeah.
Got the man DJ Dyems, Terra Firma, in the studio. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Yourself?
Good. It's been... How long do you reckon? I reckon it's been like 2, 3, 5 years since I bumped into you last.
A while.
It's been a minute. I can't... Can you remember when it was?
Not exactly, no.
Would have been a gig or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess.
It's definitely been a little bit.
Yeah. And you've been... I mean, you haven't really touched the music thing publicly for a while.
Yeah, not for a while, no.
I think the last thing that I recall you had a hand in... I mean, there was the last Terra Firma, the Music to Live By.
Yep.
And then... There's been a few bits and pieces after that, but that was kind of like the last big thing that you were involved in.
Scratches on albums and stuff after that. But yeah. As a bigger project, that's the last one.
And I guess, you're the DJ for Terra Firma, who, at least if you're from Adelaide, you're very familiar.
Yep.
And what a lot of people don't know, and I was slow to know, is that you are the brains behind Culture Kings.
Yep.
There was 3 of them.
Yep.
And I guess, when people talk about at least compilations in Australian rap, definitely Culture Kings 1 is the one that everyone says, this is the...
My name was there behind it, and basically my brainchild and did it, but there's a lot of people involved in from the get-go.
Because I think the first 2 you... Pulling Strings was involved, which is...
So PJ, Kirk and Matt.
Yeah.
Pulling Strings. They were heavily involved in it. But basically, from that was number 1. They were definitely heavily involved in that. And number 2, more so Kirk. But yeah, from 2 onwards, it was me.
And then that was number 3 you did with Obese.
Yeah, with Pegs,
Yeah.
It was like 50-50 kind of the whole way with everything. And by that stage, though, I kind of had, like, if it's a thing, compilation fatigue, I guess. A full burnout factor of dealing with dudes for too long. Yeah.
Because you're dealing with so many. It's not like when you're making an album with Terra Firma, you're dealing with 3 other dudes.
Yeah, it's a head fuck. It's fucked. I wouldn't wish on anyone, man. It's a head fuck. But it's good, but it's,
Well, I guess that's part of the reason why those compilation projects aren't super common.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a lot.
Especially these days as well. Back then, it was a completely different playing field. Completely.
Well, back then, you sort of ring dudes that you knew and go, we're putting this out. Do you want to jump on it?
And no one's talking about, like, contracts or this or that. Like, where do I sign? Like, what?
Imagine trying to do it now.
No, man. You couldn't. Especially, too, there were 44 different tracks or whatever, including the vinyl.
Yeah.
That would never happen, man.
Number 2 had 44 tracks on it. That's right, because when you did the vinyl, it was like 4 pieces of vinyl.
Yeah, and an additional track that wasn't on the CD on each vinyl.
And then the artwork, like, if you put it together, it made one big picture or something.
If you've got all 4 vinyls and put them up, it's going to make the CD cover.
That's right. I remember. Whose idea was that?
Mine.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool idea. Because it entices everyone, another reason for the fan to buy the whole collection.
I think it was 300 of each. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so look, we'll get stuck into all of it.
Yeah, wicked, man. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot that went on behind the scenes.
We'll go through each 42 tracks, one by one. Dickhead. No,
but,
I ain't joking.
Now, before the music, though, and I didn't know this, that you had a background in graffiti.
Yeah, man. Yep, like most people in the scene here, like especially DJs and stuff, like, just writing and stuff, basically on the longer line. Best mate at the time, like 92, 93 was Fusion, like 7th Shred. Best mate. Yeah. So basically came up with him, and he introduced me around, man, to like all like Tense and Bash and all those dudes. And I found myself in a position where I was doing like my first few pieces with all these dudes, man, like legends,
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
So straight off the bat, you were rolling with those dudes.
Yeah, because me and were hanging out heaps, and
And so what were you writing?
Dyems. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the whole time.
The whole time. Yeah. And so basically met all those, and those dudes were super cool, man. Like they're all just like beasts at the time, because in that period it was like just kicking right off, man. Like everything graffiti wise was just going through the roof. Like every crew was just smashing it. Yeah, and I was with a crew called IRS, which is Imperial Rail Stormers, and basically it was a collective of all the different crews in together doing it, but then it like fell apart. It was like as graph does with graph politics.
Yeah.
It just couldn't sustain the graph politics, so it just fell apart. Yeah, but yeah.
And then at that point, is that at the point where you stopped painting?
No, I haven't painted in a couple of years, but still love painting and stuff, man. It's like
okay.
Yeah, I love it. Just love doing design and then get out and do it.
Now, when you talk,
creating, it's killer.
When you're talking, painting in the 90s in Adelaide, certain crews come to mind, like your JBL, 738s, RCF, NA. Yeah. And there's obviously others, but they were the...
Like, you can't really mention, like, that 90s period without groups like WSO, like West Side Outlaws.
I was going to say they're from out west.
Yeah,
hey.
Damage and Ultra, and that was...
I remember seeing those dudes up.
There were a few others as well, like FY, and that were always heavy back then as well, so... Yeah.
Now, I spent a fair bit of time down south. 738 even till today
still
is still a name that's prominent.
Yeah.
But back in that day, like when I spoke to Fat Face and a few other dudes, because Fat Face used to roll around with 738.
No. So I mean, he was cool with them all and knew them, but he's basically based up in the hills, so more NA. I think Flack even named NA.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, as well as giving the Hood's name as well. So.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Fat Face came up with the name the Hilltop Hoods.
Yes.
Yeah, no shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
They owe him some money.
Huh? Yeah,
they should pay him some money.
But yeah, I'm 99.99% that he named them Hilltop Hoods.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, talking about the graffiti stuff down south, 738, how was, from what I gather, it was pretty vicious, pretty territorial, lot of graffiti beef.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been politics in it, but from my standpoint, I didn't, see heaps of that. They're good dudes, man, but if anyone disrespects them, I've witnessed a dude that, before the Ice Cube and Cypress Hill show.
Was that at HQ?
No.
Thebby?
No, Entertainment Centre. So basically, 1994, I think it was. Yeah, like I say, basically I witnessed it. I'm not going to mention names or whatever, obviously, but yeah, so someone basically went over someone in the city, and it was like you knew they were going to get stepped to when they bumped paths, and yeah, they did, and, got beat up. It was only ever that stuff, man, and that's what it's about,
But you never had any of those, you never got caught up in any of that?
Nah, man, nah.
Played it pretty chill.
Yeah. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'm not going to lie, yeah. But that, in seeing that early on, you just, that's the outcome, man. If you're in that scene and that's your thing, and because this was a pretty blatant thing that he did.
Yeah.
It was that's going to come back. That's the other side of it,
Yeah.
That's coming your way, and you got to be prepared for it. And yeah.
Is it amongst that 90s period because you had some mixtapes out?
Yep.
Recorded with Debris and Flack?
Yeah, yes and no. The first 3 were done at mine. We're on a Tascam 4-track recorder.
Now this is still in the 90s period.
Yeah. This has got to be 96, 7-ish.
So when did you get into DJing?
Just before this.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, I was collecting records for a while before this, but I had a killer Holden Prem.
Yeah.
And beef led to one thing or another, and it getting torched, and I fixed it and had to sell it. With that money, bought decks and set myself up with recording and stuff, and never looked back. Loved it, man. It's like a blessing,
I have to ask.
Nah.
Did you?
What's that? I'm not going to mention names.
No. But what you're saying is that the way that you got DJ equipment was your car got torched.
Yeah.
And then you got insurance money for that torched car.
Yeah, that, and sold it, insurance money, and then made money on that, getting it fixed. And then also, I just thought, where I was living at the time, I thought, I'm a minute from work, I don't need it at the moment. And sold it. And, just bought decks and taught myself from there. Had heaps of vinyl already. And then just got knee deep in collecting vinyl. And
did you ever find out who torched your car?
Yeah.
And did you know why they torched your car?
Yeah, it's a whole different
That's a whole
conversation. Yeah. I don't want to,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Digging up the past is going to muddy up the future, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, fair.
That's all, and it's all, you know, like
Water under the bridge now.
yeah, big time.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a long time ago.
Yeah, like I'm not hanging on to it at all, man. Like in a way, I look back at it and think, you know what, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have bought Dirks and this and that.
Yeah, wow.
And this, you know,
Led to this and that.
yeah. Is it sliding doors? Is that what it's called? You know what I mean? Yeah, but it is, man. It's like
it's crazy. All right, so that's happened.
Yeah.
Off the back of that, that's how you got the money to buy decks.
Yep.
And then you've been collecting records for a while,
Yeah.
and then you're obviously painting.
Yep.
And then you've decided to record some tapes.
Yep.
Okay.
So basically, I was getting at the time I was ordering records through New York, through Upstairs and Beat Street Records.
Before the internet.
Yep.
You've been writing letters and shit.
So this is via fax, basically. Yeah, man, it was like a phone call. Can you fax what's available this week? And this both shops had dudes I knew, like just from phoning them, and they'd fax through a list of what's coming out this week, and he'd circle stuff that I've got to go. And there's so much good stuff, man. I got through that period. It's like talking 94 to 96. I was doing this.
That's
so it's
like the best 2 years you could possibly.
So, yeah, I got 20-something crates or whatever, and my whole 80% of it is like that period. But
Yeah,
it's nothing,
okay.
it's not much I don't have from that period. And then I'd get a fax to my mum's work, this like long list of record, and she'd come home. It's like, I'd phone him back like the next night or the night after and just order it, and away he went. It just come, and he was putting him in. It was good. We had a system because he was putting him down as promotional records with no value. So coming through customs wasn't having, because at that stage everything was you had to pay customs and stuff.
Oh, so you bypassed that.
Yeah, by him putting it as promotional. So there was no, and he'd put an invoice with no.
Sweet as. Had it
Got
done fast.
a lot of good stuff, and because of that, I was doing mixtapes, putting it out.
Okay, and then so what was the involvement with Debris and Flack in those mixtapes?
More so with Debris, we did one after I did four by myself. Then we did one, something from nothing. It's called. He did one side, I did the other. And there's like Hood's freestyles, Flack freestyles, and stuff on it. But okay. Like Pressure did the artwork for one of them. Like it's his house and his computer or whatever.
Yeah, right.
You know, So that basically they didn't I wasn't recording it at their house, but
there was just people had a few bits and pieces.
Yes, but what that led to at the time, I think it was after, because I was living, Debris basically, and his family bought a house at before.
Yep.
And when they bought it, it was him, like Debris, me, and PJ that moved in. So the three of us lived together.
Yeah, right.
And from there, basically, I was doing another tape, and at one point, it could have been Kirk or it could have even been Barry. Like, we should just, I was getting people to freestyle on it or whatever. We should turn this into like an actual track, and then that kind of evolved into like the first Culture Kings.
Yeah,
from there,
okay.
Yeah.
So then, just backtracking to these tapes. So you moved in with Debris and PJ, pulling strings.
Yep.
Now, at this point, was Debris already in the hoods?
No, I don't think at this stage. It was definitely Crossbred Mongols with Flat.
Okay, so that was already established.
Yeah.
So what year? We're talking like what, 96 or some shit?
Yeah.
But somewhere in the mid-90s or something like that.
Mid-90s, yep. And because Debris and Flack had already been together in another group called DOP, Delusions of Psychosis.
Yes, I've heard. Yes.
Yep. So those three, one thing led to another, and that he basically was like, this scene isn't for me because of a few things that happened or whatever, and he's like, Flack and Debris started Crossbred.
Okay.
From that, like they basically, when he said, I'm not being a part of, he got a bit too heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, each to their own.
And then, so how did you meet Debris? This is before he was down with the hoods.
Yeah, I've known Baz for ages. Basically he lived at Renella. I'm not even sure who I went there first with, but, he's always had the rep of being like the dude in the South, because at the time he had like decks and shit set up at his house, and it was kind of, everyone kind of went there. Yeah.
And then, so when you're talking about these 3 or 4 tapes that you had in that 90s period, and then did you say that those tapes ended up having some raps on there from the hoods and shit like that?
Yeah, on Something From Nothing there is. Yeah.
Okay, so then What would that be, like the third tape?
Fourth.
So the
fifth,
last,
fifth.
one?
So there's basically 4 that I put out by myself just as DJ Dyems, and then Baz and I recorded it. I think we recorded it at before we moved into Aberfoyle, down at Christie's or something. That's where I remember him recording his.
So the first 4 are like DJ mixtapes, all off vinyl and that, but then the 5th one had some like live raps from the Hoods. By the time it was the 5th one, was now Debris a part of the Hoods at that point?
No, I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think that came a bit later.
Now, then when you've got the Hoods rapping on those tapes, how did you get introduced to those fellas?
Through him, through Baz at Crossbred Studios, I reckon,
Okay.
Yep, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, or through Flack. So basically Flack was the link with all of that, you know.
Now, at this point, Certified Wise obviously wasn't a thing yet, right?
No. That happened at Culture King when that track got recorded.
Yeah.
We got to come up with a group name.
Now, when you first met the Hoods, you know, there's obviously other people around doing music at that time. You know, not maybe heaps, but there's a few. If you look at where they're at now, obviously no one could have picked that they were going to be what they were. But was there something about them when you first met them that just seemed...
they're always on a different trajectory to everyone else. Even back then, man, they looked at it a bit differently as well. They were way more serious about it as well. Like I was there. It's, what's it going to be? Back Once Again was recorded. I'm not sure if it was wholly done there, but at SAE recording studios at Moringi Ave, Plimpton, wherever it is. And just even then, man, when they were recording, they had studio time booked in, and it was like, at that stage, everyone was kind of like hanging out together, say it was a Friday night or whatever. And even then, it's like, nah, this is serious time, we're recording, blah, blah, blah. And it was, you know.
Yeah, so that had a more professional approach from the get-go.
Yes, yeah.
So you kind of knew...
Oh, yeah, no, they've always had like and even with, I think as far as the shows that they selected as well coming through, like they've always had like a different approach.
Yeah.
You know, and just as an example, they basically said that they'd do a show, they'd get their show money and they'd bank it and put it towards better equipment for their live shows, better mics, or better recording studio.
Was other dudes who just piss it up at the bar?
Dude, like you step into our world and we're either splitting the money 4 ways and everyone's like, or like a New Year's Eve gig we got our show money from it and just basically got Blake to hire a bus. So once his show was done, we filled the bus with all of our mates and went to a house party that was already happening at Simplex's house. So we moved the club to which is a stupid shit with it like that. But here's what it is, man.
Yeah. Good times.
No regrets. Nah, 100%, man.
So, we're talking these tapes. This is going mid-90s, I guess into the late 90s. Yep. Now, at this point, so you obviously know Fat Face, the Hoods, you know Debris, you obviously know a few others. You've been painting with 738, but...
just clarify that. Not painting with them, but never in it.
Not in the crew. No, but just sort of hanging
around
with
them.
100%. Yeah. But even at this point, Terra Firma is not a thing. Certified Wise is not a thing.
Yeah.
And Culture Kings is not a thing.
I think still at this point, though, Terra Firma was basically Simo and Raf, I reckon, at this stage. Like when we first moved in to the Aberfoyle house, Terra Firma was definitely a thing.
Ah, okay, but you weren't part of it.
No.
Okay.
No.
And it was just those two, you reckon?
Pretty
at that
sure,
point.
and then maybe just be after that, but it was definitely those two to begin with. So basically I remember when I was living there, Les and Jody coming around to record The Night the Heavens Cried. So that basically got recorded there at Crossbred. And I'm not sure if it was the first time I ever met him, but it was one of the first where I met Les. I was like, who is this dude, man? It's like a whirlwind coming through the house, man. It's like, just louder than light. Yeah, it was just, we set it off, man. They recorded that, and that's a heavy duty track, man.
Well, that's R.I.P. to
Threads,
yeah, which is Jody's brother.
Jody's brother, yeah. And that beat was done by Parrish. So basically, with the beat, so Parrish from TDC, basically, Simo rocked up to his house and he already had it on. And Simo was like, that's great. And I think Parrish basically gave it to him. But it was Parrish's beat.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, and I think Simo obviously then fucked with afterwards or whatever. But it was definitely, to begin with, it was at Parrish's house where Simo And something I only found out recently is the piano at the start is from Star Trek.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I never knew
Yeah,
that.
Simo's a massive Trekkie.
Oh, yeah, no
Yeah,
shit.
he goes to Comic-Con and like it's full on, man. Every year it's ridiculous.
So this is though, because that song came out a bit like that was the early 2000s. So,
Yeah.
but in that studio session, that's where you became Terra Firma, or that's where you
No,
met.
Yeah, that's where I met them.
Yeah.
That me joining didn't happen for a little
while later.
After that, yeah.
So then but around when was that track recorded? Like late 90s or early 2000s?
It'd be early 2000s, I reckon.
Yeah,
By the time we
okay.
were at that house, or maybe 99. I'm not sure, but that was done, recorded, and then sat on for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it could have been late 90s.
Yeah.
Now, also in that sort of 90s period, one of the other really prominent acts that we had in SA was Delta.
Yeah, man. Yep.
So did you have a relationship with Delta back in that point, or because
Yeah,
I understand?
like, so basically, like he, if you were from down south at that period, you definitely heard of him.
Yeah.
Basically, and he was I think he went to Cardine or whatever, and he was like this dude from Cardine can freestyle his ass off, blah blah blah. And just knew like, I think I'm not even sure how it's their story to tell or whatever, but it was originally like in the original hoods or really tight with them or whatever. Then one thing led to another and went their own ways.
Yeah.
But it was like really, those dudes were all tight,
Yeah, because Debris was from Christie's.
Yep.
And Debris and Delta, I've heard that, I think, and obviously Delta was from down south.
Yep.
And Debris was the bridge that introduced
Probably, yeah.
Petra and
Sounds
stuff
about
into-
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Sounds about right.
So they were kind of like a thing at the beginning.
Yeah, man. It was all, yep. And
Yeah,
then I'm not
okay.
sure what happened or whatever.
But yeah, over time,
Yep.
they've just gone their separate ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
He's
spoken-
always been like,
doing his own thing. Or,
yeah, and just, always, like, you'd always heard of him. If you're into hip hop and you're down that way, you'd always heard about him from that period. Man.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah, dude could rap, even back then as well,
So basically at this point, you guys are sort of like all hanging around
Yep.
each other
Yep.
to some degree. And is this the era of Blackwood Roundabout?
Yeah.
Ish?
Only time I ever went up to Blackwood was when I was either with Debris or PJ or whatever.
Okay, so you weren't...
Yeah,
frequent-
or like I was really during the graph period, like with IRS. I mean, Vooms did heaps of shit. He's now, Giselle or whatever. So that dude, we hung out heaps. That's what both of us were the only two dudes that were in that IRS that weren't in crews.
Hang on, you were hanging out with Gisso?
Yep. Yeah, man. Me and him go way back.
Really? So
Yeah.
he's originally an Adelaide dude?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because I've heard this, man.
He's
He's
the original Blackwood head, man. Like, yeah.
He's a Blackwood boy.
Yeah. Smooth Vooms.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Good dude. Good dude. I don't know if he's like Machiavelli'd it too much. I hear all this like that rumor that he died or whatever.
I see, that was like a couple of years ago on the
how fuck is
internet.
that? But yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen him for a while, man. Like,
Wow. So, because I mean, look,
he's a good dude, man. Like, he got up as well, man. Like, a lot of like him and me were doing heaps of run ups and stuff, and yeah.
See, I wasn't expecting that. So, so you would have met him like early 90s or some shit?
Yeah. 94, 95.
And what? So you guys were in that IRS
Yep.
crew?
Yeah, so he is basically the only two dudes that were in that IRS that weren't in crews were him and me.
And then, so from there, what, did he move into state?
Yeah, I think he moved
or?
to Melbourne or something. I'm not sure.
And then obviously over there is where that documentary's been filmed, and he's got real.
I haven't even watched it, man. I've heard all about it and everything,
You-
but I don't want to remember him the way I.
Have to be kidding! You haven't seen
Nah,
it?
man. I don't want to. Dudes have told me all about it and everything. I'm like, I don't want to watch that.
Because you know him
From a
as
different period, man.
almost like
yeah.
a different
I don't want
person.
to see like a fucking bucket of ice or whatever he's got. I don't want to know about any of that.
Wow, no
Not
shit.
putting him on blast there, but fuck.
Yeah, no, it looks like he's been through a bit,
Yeah.
over time. Man, if I would love to get an interview with him. That's what I'm like, as if you
Yeah.
know him from back in the day. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, he's a
man.
good dude as well, man. Like my memories of him. Yeah, he was there when we were painting once at somewhere on the Belair line, and we thought we were getting chased, but we weren't, and we were both running, and I lost my footing, and I flipped down a hill, and I was like, broke my ankle, like, it was fucked, like properly somersaulted down the hill. ended up at like the bottom of the hill, and I stood up, and I just go to him, "Am I bleeding?" And he's like, "Are you bleeding?" He's like, "Sit down, dude." I was like, I had half my face, like it was fast. Yeah, but that was with him.
Yeah,
He was a good dude, man.
Shout out
And then
to Jizzo,
we were
man.
parked about 2 kilometres away, man. They had like a break. It was rank. It wasn't fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's unexpected as, man. Still late 90s. You're not a part of Terra Firma yet.
No.
Culture Kings hasn't dropped yet, and Certified isn't a thing yet. Now, you did mention, though, that in the process of making these mixtapes, because number 5 had the rapping on it from the hoods and that, that then sort of transitioned into the first Culture Kings.
I think even after that, I was looking at doing like another tape or whatever, and I was pretty sure when I was living with Baz at Crossbred, they had this, basically Crossbred Studios, they had a good setup, man. It was like I just used to sneak in there and use the decks or whatever, and just got thinking I want to do another tape or whatever. And then I think it was Kirk, it might have even been Kirk. They said you should turn this into, because there was so many dudes going there, man, like heaps of talented dudes. You should turn this into like, start doing tracks or whatever. And then, you know, look, Baz, you look at how many tracks he produced on that first Culture Kings, man. He just worked his ass off. Yeah, did heaps, man.
So
And that turned into, we started it, and then I thought, it's turned into, because at the time there was, I forget the name of it, but
I know the one you're talking about, man.
Armado from Next Level in Sydney had released
compilation, and it had Delta on it, I reckon.
I'm not sure who's
something
on it.
from the art.
Oh no, that's different again.
That's a different
We're
one?
on that. Yeah, straight from the art.
Okay, I'm getting confused.
Yeah, there's a one earlier, and then there's another one, which the hoods were on, I think, called a 4-element effect that Casino did. And I don't know, with both of them, I just kind of felt like, from everything I was seeing, like dudes recording and stuff at Debris, I thought, you know, fuck it, we've got better shit happening here. Yeah, and we just turned it into, you know, it got traction.
So when dudes were coming to record at Debris, like, so it wasn't a thing of like, you just sat down and go, all right, let's do Culture of
Eventually
Kings.
it was.
It was, yeah, but that's not how it started.
Nah,
it started because like dudes were just going over there.
Yeah, there was heaps of stuff there, man. Like heaps of different, like all Flack had recorded a whole heaps of shit.
Yeah,
like there's heaps of good shit there, man. Like
so like there's all these bits and pieces from
because I was
different
living
dudes.
there, I was exposed to it all, and I was like, this shit's killing half of the stuff that's on.
We should put it all together
and
onto
it's not,
one.
I don't know, because it was. I think both of those were a bit like. One was pretty Queensland based or whatever, and the other one was like pretty Sydney based. It wasn't like a real reflection on
the country.
Yeah,
it was just their particular cities.
Yeah,
and then so when you're listening to the stuff at Debris, is all of that stuff that's coming through still all South Australian, or are you catching?
At this stage,
at this stage, it's all South Aussie.
Yeah, like Trauma and dudes like that.
Yeah,
he was recording for him. Yeah.
Okay, and then. So this is probably, again, you know, late 90s because the compilation dropped in 2000 or 2001.
Yeah, 2000, I think.
Right? So obviously this sort of part of it's happening in like 98, 99 or something. Yep. And then what'd you say? Kirk comes in and suggests...
Yeah, so basically, because PJ was living there as well, like Kirk was good friends with him, and like Kirk and Debris go back for... Maybe going to high school, whatever.
And was PJ managing the hoods at this stage?
I'm not sure. I think so, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely, like, during this period, PJ was always, like, the organised one. You know, like, I can never remember him being out without the backpack that had, like, folders and, you know...
Pens and flyers.
And shit, you know, he was always the organised. Kind of like the glue man that, you know... And hopefully he gets, like, the recognition he, like, deserves, man, for this period. You know, he'd done Full Effect... Graph Mag with Carlos.
Yeah, I remember.
So those two basically did that, and that, you know, that's another like building block for the scene, man. You know, so he was behind all of that, and then the hoods obviously early on. Yeah, he was a good dude, man.
And then obviously he's had a hand in this, you know, the cultures one.
Yeah. So basically, he's like, who do we ask? You know, we started drawing up a list of people who to approach, and Kirk knew a couple of people in Melbourne or whatever, and this and that, you know, all connections were made, and it just snowballed, and you know, morphed into what it did. It was good, man.
So when you've got like, you know, Kirk speaking to dudes.
Yep.
You're obviously talking
Yep.
to dudes. Obviously, PJ is
Yep.
talking to dudes. At which point did you kind of know, you know, all right, we've got
Yeah.
a compilation,
Yep.
or we've got enough music?
No, I
we
definitely
can do?
knew it was going to be something good. Like as all the tracks started happening, and I knew it was going to be different. You know, it's a whole different era, man. Like it's so different. Like it's like I did the artwork for that with me and my brother on his computer, just at his, you know, like at his house, but fumbling our way through Photoshop and shit. You know.
Who came up with the name?
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So you did the artwork. You came
Yep.
up with the name.
Yep.
You obviously had a hand in the collation
Yep.
of
And
the music.
all the artwork, man. Yeah, it was just my brother and I. It was like we just fumbled our way through it, you know.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was to promote the artist and what's happening, you know. That's why in the book, like in the CD lift out, there's like all the contact details for the artist, a bio, a photo.
Because
That was always what it was about, man.
Yeah.
Just promoting the artists.
and making things bigger.
Yeah, and you
growing.
know what the artists did with that promotion they were getting was up to them, you know, off the back of it. And that's all it was about. There was no contracts, no nothing, no.
Nah, this is late 90s.
You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
what I reckon at the time it's 20 years, so I'm like,
It's all on homeboy level.
you know what I mean?
Do you wanna
And
jump
I'm
on
like
this?
early 20s or whatever, and I'm like, you know, okay, yeah, we'll do this. I'll do the artwork at my brother's house.
Yeah.
You know,
Not knowing what you're actually...
exactly. Not knowing what it was going to become.
yeah.
By the second one I did, like that, I approached that completely different.
Yeah, but on the
But
first one,
no.
you got no idea.
Nah. Yeah.
And it's very, I mean, it's very passion driven. It's like,
A lot of things with the first one, like one thing would happen, it would snowball, like the corner hotel show in Melbourne, like the release for it. Insane. Like Celsius, Local Commission, Crossbred, Hoods. You know, it's like a landmark show, man, where everyone's together and everyone forged friendships and shit through it, and you know.
so you toured that show?
Not really a tour.
You just did Adelaide and
Adelaide
Melbourne?
and Melbourne, I'm pretty sure with that one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember the people telling me about, I was only just getting into stuff at that point, like Aussie stuff.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I remember people talking
And
about.
we're talking like, I'm pretty sure no one had hotels and stuff. People were staying with people they knew. It was all like on a shoestring budget at this stage.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah.
And I guess like with, you know, so you're collating the songs, you're doing the art, you know, you've got access obviously to Debris Studio. He's got a
Yep.
hand in it. There's the artistic side of putting the compilation.
Yep.
Now, you're not doing contracts.
No.
So there's no real...
And even as
business.
far as distribution, do you know, like it's me on the phone, phoning Rocking Horse in Brisbane. I'm from Adelaide. I've just put out this.
Because Obese wasn't a thing at this point?
It was. They came into it, but at this stage, it's still like,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. They came in at the very last minute, when basically, like a funding issue. So basically we had, I had a war chest ready to go to do the vinyl, but yeah, basically my old boy went to prison, and that everything I had saved went towards everything related to that. So then basically from there, Simo and his dad stepped in, funded a fair bit of it, and then to get us over the last hurdle, Shaz from Obese stepped in, and that was like,
I was before Pegs owned it.
yeah. So
Long
Shaz
before-
one owned it,
yeah.
and we were in Melbourne, and because Brad was already on the compilation, he's like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck's going on with this compilation? When is it coming out?" Blah blah blah. And we explained the situation to Brad Stratt, and Brad's like, well, "I'll make the introduction to Shaz, to Sheen, and go from there." And that's it. It's great, man.
And so basically Obese ended up distributing the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes and no, I can't even remember exactly, but I know
But
I
there
did
was
all
some,
here.
yeah.
And it's like me on the phone, just stores and stuff. It was full like, is it bespoke? Is that the right word? Full bespoke industry. You look back at it and it's like so different, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like- yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
Nah.
Like everyone's got, you know, a publicist and a manager.
Yeah,
and
you
like,
know.
there's contract this and contract
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Now, once you've got it together, you got the music together,
Yep.
you know, and obviously, I mean, how many copies of the vinyl did you guys do?
We did 300 vinyls, but one of the funniest things I remember from doing number one it's because everything was on such a shoestring at this stage. We got, for some reason, I don't know how much we saved, but we saved money for doing it this way. We got it mastered at disc edits through Neville, and then we had I think the initial run was 300 or 500 of the CDs, and all of them were put together by hand by me and Kirk. Basically, we got the paper parts for all the CDs printed.
And guillotine the covers and
No,
shit?
we didn't go. Yeah. We got someone to guillotine it. But no, basically we had the empty CD covers with the spindles of discs from 2 different places, and then we had the artwork from another place, like the paper parts. Me and Kirk sat there like a production. It was ridiculous.
And just did it. Yeah, wow.
I hope he looks back at it and just thinks that was fucked. Because I do. We were sat there at our house at Aberfoyle just going, oh, what the fuck, man? This isn't how it's done. Surely. It's funny, man.
Now, I guess with
but you know what I mean? Like that's where it was at, man. It's like, and then after that, obviously.
Yeah, things progress.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, I mean, when dudes are submitting, because how many tracks are on it? Do you remember?
18 or 19 or something, yeah.
Right? So let's say you got 18, 19 tracks that get submitted. Yep. Are they submitting the songs? They're not already mastered, are they?
As some were, some weren't.
But basically, you've got to pay. So as the person who's in
basically
charge,
what happened is I've got the whole album lined out. We went to disc edits with Neville, and he basically mastered the whole thing.
But you pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you pay for that.
Yep.
And then you pay for pretty much all the costs involved in the production of the release.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you remember off the top of your head approximately what it would have cost to put that out?
I've got all of the receipts though. I do. I do, man. It's funny as fuck. I found them the other day. It's like in a manila folder thing. This chunk.
Well, because like mastering,
I can't remember exactly.
Like mastering songs isn't cheap.
No, it's expensive, man. And
pressing vinyl isn't cheap.
Yeah.
Like just the whole, and then you got the CDs. Even though you did it by hand, that still costs money.
The vinyl for the second one, because what's that? 1,200 vinyls, something like 13 grand. 15 grand or something, man. With
you
all
did
the
1,200 copies of number 2.
Yeah,
because it's 4 parts to one.
Yeah. So it was like one hit, and it's like.
But on the first one, you did 300 vinyls. And how many CDs?
The first run was 500. I'm pretty sure.
And then how many more runs do you think you did? But there were more runs after that.
Yeah. Kicked off from there.
Yeah. But the vinyl was only 300 ever done, and that's it.
That's it.
So that's why they're going for crazy.
I think I've definitely got one test pressing, and I think Kirk. I'm not sure if he still got it, but I think the other one went to him.
Yeah, right.
From that.
Now you know we're at the point. Say it's 2000, the compilation's done. You're about to put it out. By this point, did you kind of know?
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. I knew what was on it. I knew a couple of things were really going to stand out, like that barbecue song.
Is that Mass MC?
Yeah, so
with the mobile phone at the start.
And then we're speaking Italian or whatever. Well, that's awesome, man.
Shit.
Like,
it's like, you're not invited to my barbecue no more.
I think that got picked up on radio, and that kind of like, again, helped.
The momentum.
And also like open Australia to like, okay, there's Oz hip hop happening, because that's like, you can't get more Australian than that, man. It's a song about a barbecue
song.
You know what I mean? I don't know, and it all played a part, and that's what it was about. That's what,
Now, what are some of the like off the top of my head? Obviously, I remember Mass MC had the barbecue song. I hope I've got this right, but I could have it wrong. Was number one the one that had number one had the Sentinel on it? No, number two. Okay, so
number one was live at the Jazz Lounge or whatever it's called.
Okay, and then there was the Lyrical Mongrels with LC. There was the big classic one I remember everyone was talking about was the Certified Posse joint, the 13 MCs and 3 DJs, which was you, Reflux,
and
Debris.
Yep. That was pretty epic. That was full on.
Well, yeah,
those days were great, man. It was like,
and so that's obviously off Culture Kings 1. That's where the whole certified.
Yeah, it was from there. Basically, even during recording that, trying to come up with a name as like a collective crew, and there were a few. Like I think it might have even gone to a vote, but I remember a few that were written down, and that was the one that stuck. Certified Wires.
So basically, that happened.
Yep.
Through the production of Culture Kings 1.
Yep.
Now, because I forgot to ask Headlock this, when Certified was originally formed, who were the members of Certified? Because I know obviously it was the Hoods.
So it would be After Hours, Trauma, Crossbred, us. Oh man. After Hours, I think I've already said. So basically, I mean, work our way through 13 MCs if we want. I'm pretty sure that was the crux of it.
But that was, yeah.
But then after that, I know Funkles were in pretty much. They were definitely the next ones in.
But they were originally called CS9? Or was that a different group?
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, there was
something prior to the Funkles with some of them or something.
Kirk would be able to tell you that for sure. But yeah, so basically they were the next ones to come in, and then there was a couple other people as well. Which, and at that stage, it was kind of like people got put in it without I can't tell you who else was.
Yeah.
You know, oh, sorry. Blockade and Collapse.
That's right.
Yes, they were originally in it.
Collapse has my favorite verse on the second. No, is it? It's on the Hoods, the Calling, the posse join on that.
Oh yeah.
And his opening line, it's like you something always compare one another.
Yeah.
Studio 2000s where you shot your album cover.
Yeah, he's a funny dude, man.
He is hilarious, man. Okay, so that was a creation of Certified Wise. So that's happened during the production of Culture Kings 1. By the time it's come to drop it, you knew what you were sitting on.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is no one really knows exactly what's going to happen, how well it's going to do, how well it's going to sell.
Yep.
You put it out. There's no contracts. I'm going to assume there was no money exchanged hands.
No, I can't remember paying anyone for it.
But then when the shit starts to sell, then often what happens is then people start thinking, hang on a sec.
Yeah, but at that point we're still recuperating costs or whatever, you know, and it's, you know, just paying for itself basically, shows, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, did you have any issues with people wanting to get paid for it after the first one had been released?
Yep. So basically, I got approached by two different people that are on it.
Which we can't...
Nah, I'm not going to get right into the nuts and bolts of it, but basically we had a meeting, and because nothing was drawn up, and we just worked out an amount, and paid them.
Okay, so of the number of 18 songs, basically 2 artists came back off the back of the first one saying, look, we've contributed, you've made a bit of money, can we get a cut?
But it's not as if, when you say made a bit of money, it's not as if like, you know, all of a sudden I've gone to, you know, I'm on a world trip and like, you know what I mean?
No.
It's not like that at all, man.
No.
You know?
Well, there's the reality of it and there's the perception.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
What I'm talking about is the perception was at this point by a couple of people.
Yep.
He's made a bit of money off it.
Yep.
So we would like to make a bit of that.
Yep.
That's the perception.
And we sat down with them, worked it out, paid. You know,
and that was
done.
it.
Yep, done. End of story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that's 2 people out of the rest.
Yep.
And then that's the very first one.
Yep.
So then besides...
Basically, it was set up as like a promotional tool for everyone, man. You know?
So everybody obviously benefited from being on that. Because look, man, up until that point, I didn't know 3/4 of the names on there.
Exactly.
You know,
And that's
like
what it was about, man. Like and I was never thinking about, ooh, I'm going to do this and like never have to work again.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You couldn't have, because that wasn't the way... People weren't doing that.
You know, I've just put together 500 CDs by hand.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Balling out of control, bro. You know, like, fuck, man. You know, what the fuck? You didn't help put together the CD. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway,
so that's the first one. And like you said, there was the Melbourne show.
Yep.
And then there was the Adelaide show.
Yep.
And I mean, look, that compilation continues to sell to this day secondhand. Like people are trading it and paying top dollar for it. Now we're in 2001. Okay, so there's more artists now coming through. It's really, I kind of feel like this early 2000s period it really started to bubble.
Yeah, it was kicking off.
And
100%.
Melbourne and Adelaide, and I guess Perth as well, but I just kind of feel like Melbourne and Adelaide kind of really had it by the balls.
Oh, big time. 100%.
Now, at this point, Cultures 1 has dropped. Certified Wise has now been established. Are you in Terra Firma at this point yet?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it was pretty much after Culture Kings 1 dropped. Simo and I were like hanging out heaps, basically, spending heaps of time together or whatever. And I think they'd gone through a couple of DJs. I think someone DJ'd at one point for him, and Shep from the Clinic. Pretty sure he DJ'd for a little bit with him. But yeah, then he, after he got over the fact of getting past the fact that he doesn't like me, he told me, because when he first met me, he wanted to punch me in the face. He was like, I hated the sight of you. You had that look. I was like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, what? This is like years after we'd been hanging out. I'm like, what the fuck? He goes, yeah. One of those like, dude. Yeah. So it was, and then we've been hanging out one night and we were at BB's house on South Terrace, out on her balcony just talking about shit. And he goes, yeah, look, I want you to become a DJ of Terra Firma, just take it seriously, blah, blah, blah. We've been through a few. And yeah.
So this is just after Cultures 1
I'm pretty
dropped.
sure it was in between 1 and 2.
He must have seen that you know how to work.
Yeah,
You've had a successful thing under the belt and gone, you know what, he's all right.
Can put some CDs together.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. That's what he's probably long-term thinking. I need someone to put CD. Yeah, but no, it was that. And basically, from then on, it's like,
Official.
And we, it took it a bit more. From then, it was like it was really disjointed like Terra Firma from then. I think Les joined pretty much straight away as well after that.
So you and Les kind of joined around the same time.
Around the same time, yeah.
So then therefore, and at this point where you and Les have joined and now Terra Firma is what we know Terra Firma to be, the Nights of Heaven Cried had already been recorded prior to this, but at this point hadn't been released yet.
Nah, and we had like a whole lot of, like from that first album that we dropped, from there I reckon it took 5 years from Waking the Past. I'm not sure what year it dropped, but it was a while.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then that means that which dropped next, Culture Kings 2 or the first Terra Firma release?
2, I reckon.
Okay, so Culture 2 drops.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
and that's the reason there was the only 2 Terra Firma albums as well, because we're doing this as well.
Yeah.
Simo had a big part in it as well, you know, like he was doing tracks for everyone and it was touring this and
mixing down this and
plus
producing this.
Like Terra, we did before we released that first album, we had done 200 plus shows, man, you know, before we had even released an album.
As Terra Firma, you'd already...
we were
because...
doing gigs like left, right, and center, everywhere and anywhere, man.
Yeah. I think when I spoke to Simplex, he's like, you guys were out in some Whoop Whoop Rotunda and shit.
Yeah, man. We did heaps of good shit, but yeah, there was a few questionable ones. Like who arranged, you know, who's arranged this? There was more, that one at the Rotunda, there was more like pie carts than there were people there, man. It was ridiculous. Like,
you're performing to pie carts.
And then a fight... Like halfway through our set, this fire twirler just walks straight across like the thing, just twirling fire. Everyone stopped rapping, just looked at us like, oh, it's fucked. It was fucked, man. It was real bad.
Well, I mean, it's part of the...
Oh, it is, man. It's all part of it, man. You do those ones that make you appreciate like
the good ones.
Better ones, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, after number 1, now Terra Firma is what we know it today, but before that releases... Culture Kings 2 drops.
Yep.
And that drops, I'm going to guess, 2003,
2002, I think it came out.
Okay, so this is the interesting bit. So this one to me, although number 1 is the classic. It's like the Illmatic.
That kind of like laid the foundation.
You know, and
that's the one that really like took everything to like.
Number 2 was the one where I was just smashing it in the car. This was where I was just like, "Oi, this is proper world class." I'm not saying the first one wasn't, but just for me, it was really that second one, and there was the Hoods had the Sentinel on there. I'm pretty sure. When I heard that, I was just like, "What the fuck?"
And Delta's track as well, man. Like I really like that track.
Which Delta joint is the one that's on that one?
For the Kings.
Oh, that's
like the title track.
Man,
that was one of my That was one of my biggest regrets is not having him involved.
Because he wasn't on number one.
he wasn't.
So,
So
why
that-
was he not on number one?
Just the way it worked out.
Just timing and
yeah,
just all the shit.
Yeah, but that honestly that was a big regret, and made up for it by asking him to do the title track. I said, could you do a track called About Culture Kings? Could Flack had done the first one on with Crossbred about Culture Kings. Yeah, and then I asked him to do it, and he's nailed it, man. Like,
Isn't there a remix to that or
of Deltas?
yeah?
I'm not sure. Probably
Okay.
Stains maybe done one or something. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
okay.
Yeah.
So that was the title track for Culture Kings 2,
Yep.
which he's obviously contributed. He didn't
And got smashed on their radio, like just that and Solomon Klepto. We built this. The other two that got smashed the most.
Now you also had this one. I mean, the first one had 18 tracks, 19 tracks, something like that. You said this one had like over 40 songs.
Yep. And that came about from Simo and I think Simo was house sitting in his sister's house, and she had a double CD, it was like either a Triple J CD or another, like those like hottest
100s or something like that.
Yeah, not necessarily Triple J related or whatever, but
it's just like the
once you
top songs.
Yeah, and I was like, let's
100% hits.
Yeah, and it was like we opened it was like a double CD thing. I'm like, let's do this, and we just looked at each other and was like, and we started that night. We started writing up, if it's even possible, if there's that many groups, and there was, we could do it. Yeah,
and then that's how you guys, and then obviously you've just started the
we drew up a
process
list
again.
each of like, I think definitely Kirk was still involved at this stage as well. So basically, we drew up a list of, like we quartered it off or whatever, and I had to approach my list, and they had to approach theirs.
Yeah, okay. And that one had Downside Bittersweet on it.
Yep.
That is a cracker, man. That is.
And Hunter's Jam Roll, the doll track.
Oh man, where he samples that TV show.
One of my better memories from doing all of number 2 especially is I had a PO box at Hilton near where I was living, and basically after we'd approached people to be on it and they'd confirmed, we'd go, okay, we need to send your bio, photo and his track to the PO box.
Oh, here we go.
It was killing, man. I was like, and towards when it was all coming together, everyone had a deadline, and I started getting all the tracks. I thought, fuck, I'm just, this is
got
gonna,
something
This is going to be
here.
like killer. Yeah.
Now, from the process of doing the first one to the second one, the first one was obviously very raw.
Yeah.
Kind of just like, we don't even know what we're doing. By the end of it, you kind of know what you've got.
I mean, that first one was with Obese. It was their second ever release. So it's OBR 002.
Yeah, wow.
One release before that was Reason's solid album.
Yeah, right.
So it's like right at the start, man,
There you go. So everything's right at the start for everyone. No one really knows anything.
Yep.
Then it's happened. It's been successful. Now you're approaching dudes. First of all, there were some dudes on the first one that were on the second one, obviously, like the Hoods and a few others. Now, at this point, when you reached out to people, was the process the same, or were now people asking?
Easier.
But were they asking for the contract side of things yet?
None of that.
There's still none of that.
None of that.
So people still weren't asking for money.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Because
then-
basically it was pitched again the same as
the first one.
Yeah, and what I did promise people in the second one is I'd be involved in like a tour,
Okay. Yep.
and basically everyone that was on it went somewhere,
Did you have to organise the 2 shows?
Yep.
So the melt of the first one,
Yep.
you also organised the shows.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. That's a lot of work,
Yeah.
man.
I think the one here had, I think I flew in 30-something people, man, from all around the country,
And
and put them up in hotels.
and who was helping you with that the live element of it? Was it still Kirk?
No,
and
PJ,
PJ would,
Kirk, yeah. Yep.
And then did you have to bankroll all the flights and shit
Yep.
yourself?
Yep. The whole lot.
Wow.
Yep. But at the time, I was working at Ansett. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so
man.
you could get like discount deals?
Yeah.
Oh, that's killer.
Yeah. So, I mean, even from the start of this, I was, when I was joined, so I was working at Ansett the entire time.
Yeah, okay.
And so it was easy, man. So I've got like the cheaper flights, whatever, and it's all hooked up, and I knew how to do it all. That part of
Was
for me
easy.
was easy, man.
It's just the other shit that's involved in running an event.
Yeah. It's just
It's draining, man.
it was decent. Like the Sydney one, especially, man. We had like a whole floor booked out in a hotel. It was like killer times, everyone just running a thorough. It was ridiculous. The proper. Yeah.
Did you film this?
There was a video or something, but
It'd be who knows where it is.
I didn't really the dude I did it with. like I'm sure he's a nice dude and everything, but we had a bit of a fallout when we were doing it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, put my hands in there, so fuck this shit. I
And
don't
then
want to know
left
about it
it.
anymore. I just left it.
Yeah.
So it did come out or whatever, but yeah, it's not something I've, yeah.
And then, so with the second one, when you've approached people, the process been the same. No one's asked for money or contracts at this point. You know, you're talking to them about bringing them on a tour if everything goes well. Also, I'm pretty sure Bliss and Esso was another big name that was on there.
Yep. Yep. And they were...
Was How on the second one?
He was on the first one.
He was on the first
Coolism
one?
on the first one, yeah.
Coolism was on the first one.
Yeah, with, I think it's All City or something maybe. I think
Yeah,
it's called.
okay.
Yeah.
And then with Bliss and Esso, they weren't on the first one.
No, but they were one of the most organised. You could tell back then, man. Like they were very organised, man. Like of all the groups outside of maybe the Hoods and a couple other from here, they were, you know, 2 weeks. Yeah, way professional, man. Everything was, you know.
And they're Sydney based, right?
Yeah.
Now, at that point in time, because they're huge now.
Yep.
It was around that time where they really started popping off. But by the time you got them on Cultures too, had they really popped off yet, or that was just before?
Just before, I reckon. It was just before, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking if it was just after, there's no way they would have submitted music without a contract.
Yeah, and I think who's them? What's his name? Anyway, definitely there would have been some sort of paperwork for both parties to sign if who they currently ended up with, for sure.
And so
I'd probably still be paying it off, I think.
No, percentage royalties. Now, you've submitted the track. You got the people that are on board. You know, you got 40 plus people.
Yep.
That's enough for a double disc.
Yep.
After this is where you decided, okay, the way that we're going to drop the vinyl is in 4 different pieces.
That happened during doing the artwork. So basically, I approached Vans, who's a
legendary rider.
Yeah, so basically during 96 to 99, Vans and I painted heaps together.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, before he's become the Amiga and the global brand that he is now. So I approached him to do the artwork.
Oh, so Vans did Cultures 2 artwork.
And basically sat it downstairs at the clinic when they were downstairs, because he had at that stage he had Materialism clothing with Toby, and I basically the sponsor deal, and he did the artwork, and we just sat down there and he came up with the train thing at the back, and
so that was all him.
Yeah.
That train thing was so dope.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so I was always wondering who the fuck came up with that, man.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I shudder to think if I approach Vans these days to do the CD,
what it would cost.
I reckon there'd be a contract involved.
Did you have to? Did you even have to pay him at that point?
I think. Yeah.
But nothing compared to what you'd have to break him off.
He'll probably
now.
have a different story, like I still owe him money or something. I bet he probably would. He's honestly, man, he's like one of like the nicest dudes you're ever going to meet in the scene.
Yeah, well,
hands down, man. Can like basically paint anywhere in the world. You know, he's
yeah,
like up there.
Yeah, I've heard, man.
Right up there in the world's top graffiti writers, man. He's incredible. You know,
he's a dude that did number 2.
Yeah, and he was involved in the artwork.
That's crazy.
You know, but yeah.
And then so you've got these 40 plus artists. Now on the first one, I get the feeling that it was really like very homeboy collective with a few bits and pieces from interstate.
Yep.
But number 2, you got so many different artists covering like all the corners of the country that even maybe I didn't know at the time, but even down the line, I realized like, well, hang on. Does this dude get along with this dude? And you know, like how did they manage to put this song on with these guys if these guys are on it? And I guess no
one really was involved in that side of things. If people had beef, that was their own thing.
So did people ask you like, oh, who else is going to be on it? Was that like a thing? And then
look, especially with the first one, it definitely was like when Celsius, like Sir Rec from Death Wish, he got approached by a girl we know from Blackwood, Rachel Wagner, I think her name is. She knew him. And so she approached him and he goes, oh, who else is on it, blah, blah, blah. And then bang, you know, he's on it. And that's what helped you know, that one as well. You know, you got members of like Death Wish cast on the first one. You know, and it kind of gave it a bit more like credibility. Yeah.
So then by the time the second one comes out, people are just like, we know whoever's on it's going to be dope. Yeah. So we're just going to be next to some dope dudes no matter who it is.
And by that stage, the scene's kind of evolving as well. Yeah. It's getting bigger and bigger and people just wanting to jump on and, you know, try and get people to hear them.
Now, so this is 2003. Now, the Hood's Sentinel was on the Calling.
Yep.
Which that dropped in 03.
Yep. No, this is 02. This
I was going to say, yeah. So that means, this dropped before that. Yeah. Because I remember hearing the Sentinel.
On the same.
Yeah, because I remember hearing the Sentinel
again
before the album.
There's no contract, you know, binding it to Culture of Kings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's none of that. So it's like, yeah, whatever. Cool.
But at this point, you know, because when the Calling dropped, that's when it really kicked off for them. Yeah. But at this point, you'd have to say that the Hoods were still top dogs out of all the artists.
100%. And I think, 100%.
Yeah.
They were always at
the top. Yeah.
And it was like an honor, man, to have them on. Even then, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Even then, I was like, oh, great. This is awesome. Like, these dudes are by far the best dudes, in my opinion, back then, even in the country doing it. Great. You know, killer.
Did you think maybe, like, with some of the names, did you kind of think, we might not be able to get a song from these guys because of... You know, were you pretty confident that people
I can't really think of anyone that I felt hesitant approaching or whatever.
Were there any tracks in particular? Because obviously you get the submissions, you know, people send them to you.
At that PO box address, though, there were like just rogue ones that would come through, like people had just sent.
Oh, that weren't even didn't even get approached for it, but they were just sending you a couple
of rogue ones. And
but none of them made it on the compilation. No, okay.
Made it straight to the bin. No, you're joking. Nah, but
yeah, right.
But so it was that kind of like, it was a hectic time, man. It was
And then so when the songs have come through, were there any ones in particular where when you heard them, you were just like, fuck?
Hunter's Jam Roll stands out.
Yep.
As Hijack's track stood out for me when I remember just getting that home and go, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. Like that Bones beat or whatever is so sick. I love that. To this day, man, it's so good, so different to everything else that's on there. Yeah.
I forgot that Hijack was on Cultures too.
Yep.
So now that reminds me, that was another one because Delta versus Hijack. Had that already happened before Cultures 2? Or did that happen after? So much of this was around the same time.
Yes,
I've got a feeling it was just before. But see, that
20
was
20 years ago. My timeline.
Yeah, exactly. But that was another one where I was like, I remember thinking, you know, like, how did there's no one's getting
it? There was so much hype. You know, it was so good, man.
So good.
It's so good for both of them.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about it. It's like, killer.
Were you there at the battle? Because I know Simo was
in Melbourne. Yes. Hang on. No, I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
I know I've seen him interstate before battles,
because that was a big that was a big thing, like when that was happening. And I guess the other one that stood out as well, and I don't know even how I heard about this, but when I saw Bliss and Esso and the Hoods on the same compilation, I was like, isn't there something?
I don't know about any of that. I have no idea.
But so when putting it together, you've had no political issues per se. Obviously, people have submitted. There's a few.
Not like someone said, I don't want to be within 3 tracks of such and such. Is that what you mean?
Well, just anything. Anything. There was just not anything.
Not that I can remember anyway. There maybe was, but not that I can remember. It stands out.
Because like now, like when I've done gigs, for example, when I'm putting on bills, you know, there sometimes is the thing of like, who else is going to be on there? If this person's on there, I'm not really too interested. Can I get billed in this particular position? And da. Yeah, that sort of shit happens. So I just assume when you're dealing with 40 plus acts, there might have been a bit of that. But then again, because it's so long ago and people still coming up, the egos are not like...
Not that I can remember anyway. Nothing that really like glaringly stands out as far as anyone being a complete, you know... Everyone was pretty good to deal with, man, to be honest with you. Yeah, I only had to chase up a couple of people for stuff like right at the last minute, like you're already like overdue. We ended up having to get Joel's track that's on it. What's that called with Simo? Simo's raps, Joel's beat. We ended up having to pay $400 to get it because we were final day with Neville at Disc Edits.
Yeah.
We had to get it picked up in Melbourne. It got picked up at his house at 10:30, flown over here on an express service and dropped off at like Disc Edits.
Because you only had Neville for that amount of time.
Yeah, we had him that
to
day,
get
man.
done.
And if it wasn't on, it was going to, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sure Simo flexed a bit of his muscle and said, I'm on the track, bro. Just get it done. Just get it done. So, yes, we got to courier it over, man, by air, and it landed and hand delivered into Disc and mastered.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, like when you mentioned some of the standout joints, the Hunter one.
Yep.
How well did you get to know Hunter?
Yeah, really well, man. Like when he came for that show, he stayed with Simo at Morphet Vale at Staples' house.
Oh, wow.
And woke up early one morning before everyone else and pieced his back shed. You know, around the back of his
Well, while
back.
everyone's still asleep.
Yeah, man. It's like, dude whose house it was, like, your mate from Perth has got to go, dude. What the fuck? Like, he's pieced Staples' back fucking shed, man, around the back. Like, you couldn't see it. If you were stood looking at the backyard or whatever, you couldn't see it. But if you walked down the backyard, you could see the piece in the... So what the fuck, man? Yeah, I'm staying at this dude's home. Rise and shine.
Now, when I'm...
You know what I mean?
When
But yeah,
I-
he was a good... Yeah, he was a great dude, man.
Well, yeah, and RIP. It's very sad what happened. I haven't seen. I don't know if you've
We've
seen.
got from that show as well. There's a photo of me, him, and Les after his jam roll song. So we picked him up from the airport, and he goes, "I've got to go put my form in." We took him to Jetty Road, Glenelg, and he put his like doll form in before the show, man. 100%. We got a photo of him holding it up out the front, man. It's like ridiculous. Yeah,
Well, before the gig,
before the gig. So the gig was the next day. We picked him up on a Friday or whatever.
and took him to
Yeah, so I got to put
Centrelink
my form in.
to put his doll form in. So he's really living that shit.
You know what I mean?
That's why that song was so
So good,
authentic, man. Like,
So good. We got a cracker photo, man. Me, Hunter, and Les out the front of a Jetty Road.
Centrelink.
Centrelink,
Just
man. He's holding his form up. We're like, "Rrr." Funny times, man.
And I mean, look, every time I've spoken to Disaster, I've spoken to multiple dudes. I can't remember, like By Spee,
Yep.
and they all have, obviously very good things to say. Everyone talks about how he was such a big supporter
Yep.
of.
He'd do anything, man. Like, he was just always, like, generous. Like, whatever
Yeah.
needs to be done, we'll do it. Or whatever, it was like... And that's, generally, looking back at it, that's how most people were. Yeah, but he stands out.
In
as being-
particular,
man.
yeah. And that's what
super nice
everybody
dude.
says. And
Super
then,
nice.
everyone's just got that funny random story like yours with the Centrelink form,
Piece of steak and
etc. Very sad what happened. I remember seeing the trailer for the DVD that he did
Yep.
just before he passed away. Do you recall the moment where you got the
Yeah,
info
I'm pretty
that-
sure it was Simo who told me and everything. And it was tragic, man, because I'm pretty sure he had a daughter or something involved, wasn't it?
I'm
pretty sure.
not too sure. I haven't seen the doco, and I never.
I
met
haven't
the
seen the
dude,
doco
but
either, to be honest with you. But I just remember it being like, and then By approached either me or Simo for they did like a getting people to donate stuff for like a fund for his family and everything. And I'm pretty sure it was his daughter. Like, he definitely had a kid. Yeah, and gave I think one vinyl and a full set of number 2 for, and I think even maybe even A Matter of Time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then did you participate in the Hunter Cup? Because
Nah.
I remember they put a few of those together.
It's
hey?
not my sport.
Football's not your thing.
No, Australian rules is my sport. But yeah, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Even how they played,
And everyone was rocking up,
Yeah, everyone,
man.
yeah.
Like I obviously I never went, but I just heard all about it, and just like to have all the names that were rocking up till years later, it was like for someone like me who's a fan that's been watching, it was really that made
Great
me
idea.
go.
Great
well,
idea.
I was just
gets
like,
everyone together and just builds the scene up even more, man. It's like that's how you're going to meet people and
and
forge
keep in
friendships.
touch.
Yep.
There's people, so
Great
many
idea.
people would not have seen each other since the previous Hunter Cup.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, man, if dudes are doing that for you once you're gone, you really were
100%.
you were like the nucleus.
Yeah, he was a
of
nice
shit.
dude, man. Like, if anyone that's met him will tell you that.
The year after, 03, that's when the Hoods have dropped The Calling.
Yep.
Now, Terra Firma dropped after the calling or before the calling?
Oh, after I would have
After,
thought,
right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So, but up until this point of dropping the calling, you're quite tied in with the Hoods at this point, I imagine.
Oh, everyone was friends, yeah.
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
you're all like at Crossbred Studios
yeah,
and you're having beers or whatever.
Yep.
Now, their album before the calling was Left Foot, Right Foot, which I'm pretty sure dropped in 01, which I guess would be a year after Cultures.
That's my favourite one.
That's
so good.
I think anyone that's like above 35 that's a Hood fan says that one. I'm between that one and the calling because the calling was so polished.
Yeah, it was a different sound.
It's a different...
Left Foot, Right Foot for me is, I've got it, like I've got that up in my like top 5.
Yeah, like all time?
Australian releases, I've got Trem for the Term of His Natural. That's like, for me, it's streets ahead of everything else.
Yeah.
That's such, like...
It's flawless.
Oh, it's incredible.
You can't.
Everything.
Yeah,
It's
literally a masterpiece.
Is it Revolution on the cart? What the fuck, man? I remember getting it and going home and just not moving for like 2 hours. I listened to it twice through, but this is like the best thing ever.
I know.
It's so good, man. It's like...
It's incredible.
It's so
That's
solid.
why he is the GOAT.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
it's
he's the man.
100%. And just everything from it, from the skits to the people he selected for the... It's... Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's flawless.
Yeah.
It's literally a masterpiece front to back.
Yeah. I've told him that as well.
But yeah, so the one before the calling was, Left Foot, Right Foot. At that point in time, that was miles ahead of everything else. Soul of the Beat is actually the track that got me into Australian hip hop.
Oh, yeah?
I couldn't believe that these dudes. I was in Flagstaff at the time,
Oh, yeah?
and someone told me this came from Blackwood.
Yeah.
I'm like, get the fuck out of here! It's 15 minutes down the road, and that's
Yeah.
that Delta and LC. That's where it kind
Yeah.
of kicked off.
Yeah.
In 02 is when LC dropped Stage is Set.
Yep.
And that fucking blew the roof off shit. Like,
so different sounds as well.
such
So
different
good.
sounds.
And
But
it's-
to me, 01 was that, 02 was
both
that.
still equally as like,
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Just on different levels. Yeah.
top of their
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
And I remember when that came out, because by that point I was familiar with the Hoods.
Yep.
And I thought, Left Foot, Right Foot was the best Aussie album at that time, easy. And then when LC came out with that, I was like, fuck, no one's really topping this, right? You can't, that J Red fucking custom made and just the whole thing. I was just, even the intros, the shit is proper without the gander and all this. I was like, this
good,
is,
man.
it's unbelievable. And then,
Is that the one with is it Apathy and Self-Titled on it as well?
No, that's
Demigods?
that. No,
Is that
that's on
first?
Turntable Jedis.
Oh, yeah,
I know that
That's-
song.
yeah,
that's
good as well.
mad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's off that one. I could be wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
But then, nevertheless, so I remember I was thinking, you can't beat. No one in the country can beat this. This is up there with like the shit in New York.
Yeah.
And then the Hoods dropped The Calling.
Yep.
Now, obviously, like any regular fan, the first time we buy it is the first time we hear it. But you, I'm guessing, might have been previewed to some of the album before it got released.
Not that, I remember hearing Nosebleed Section.
I was just about to say.
Yeah. But you'd have to ask them, but I'm pretty sure they were going to leave it off.
I was about to ask everyone this, and the story goes is that
sure
they were going to leave it off.
Yeah.
And I think it was just like Pressure had a solo. Nosebleed is a Suffer solo, which no one ever really remembers. It's actually, I don't think there's a Pressure verse on there.
Yeah.
So something about it was to like balance it out, and then also, and it makes sense that song at that time sounded a bit too.
If it wasn't that track that kicked them off,
something else would have.
You know what I mean? It really was like a tinderbox ready to go through.
Yeah,
the roof,
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Excuse
Pardon
the pun.
Yeah. I mean, and fuck, man.
But so they were going to leave that off. They put that on, and then that's the one that the Jays picked up, and pretty much the whole fucking landscape changed from that point. And I remember a couple people saying that Suffer felt like it was a bit too poppy.
Yep.
Because you think 2003, it was still pretty hard.
I bet
sound.
he's glad he put it on there now, though, huh? No regrets.
Yeah, man. If you're looking at his bank account,
on him,
going,
man. Fantastic. Incredible.
But yeah, so that's been '03. So you might have heard that song, but I'm guessing, you didn't hear anything else of.
Oh, not that I can remember. It's a long time ago. Yeah, probably did, but.
But were you at the launch at the Planet?
Yes.
Now that was the first Aussie gig I ever went to, and I just remember just thinking, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
man? Like
crazy.
it was on some other shit. It just the vibe, just the number of people. And I hadn't been to many gigs yet, but they were all American, mostly DJ Craze and stuff like that. And they were dope.
Yeah.
But this was just, it was just different. I was just like, fucking hell.
It kind of showed that it can happen.
Yeah.
This is dudes from Blackwood.
And I just remember looking at, I didn't know
great.
anyone back then in the scene, but I just remember looking at dudes on stage in the background and everyone just had this look of just like, no one could really believe what the fuck was going
Simo
on.
in a fight that night?
Probably.
Yeah. It's around that period. So a show in the mid-90s.
But like, so you were there at that Calling album launch, and I'm going to assume once
I've still got the stamp on my hand.
you would have seen that, and you would have also been like, "This is it."
Great.
Like these dudes are off to the fucking
off and racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always just been great. Like
just watching it progress, and then
incredible.
I know, just from like in Aberfoyle in some studio or whatever to
great.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is. It's nuts.
It's like an actual movie type fucking story. Because now they're doing. Because I've been told that the launch for the first one, like Back Once Again or whatnot, dudes told me they were there. There was like 20 other people there.
Yeah, so I DJ'd it. Back Once Again launch, and also Matter of Time launch.
So Back Once Again was the first one. Matter of Time was the second one.
And I'm pretty sure Back Once Again was at Line Arts. Yeah, and Matter of Time was at Proscenium.
See, and how were the numbers at those gigs from memory?
From what I remember, it was good. Like both shows were good.
Right?
Yeah, they had the first one was like a Trey and a female collective, Womb Mindspeak or something they're called. They performed, and Hooded Puppets. It's like a live band.
I've been, Madcap told me about that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So all that was happening, and I remember it as being two good shows. I think it was one of my first ever proper gigs, man. Like that first, and that was when I was living with Debris and PJ, and PJ put on the show.
And now they're doing 10,000 person arenas. Fucking hell. One thing I forgot to ask before we just moved on to 03, which was the Cultures 2 compilation, was when that was finished, and that's the one that had the Hood song on it, that then goes, on their release the following year. When that dropped, how did that sell in comparison to the first one?
Like smashed it.
Like times
from
2, times 4,
like
just so
keep going. It's like smashed it. Yeah, absolutely. Because it was different again. By that stage, Pegs was owning Obese, and he said, "This is what I want to do and take control of." I think to begin with, though, Kirk was doing distribution for it, and then it just kind of got a bit too big.
Yeah.
Yep. And so basically, Pegs I think took the reins with that, and it just went off from there. That was good for him as well, though, because that set him up to being able to
do the things that he did after
with
that.
That Hoods album that came out afterwards. Kind of like, not that it paved the way, but it opened a lot of doors, man.
Set it up, yeah.
And he's like, well, this is what I've got next, and
now,
and it also gave him from him doing he was earning, I forget how much it was per CD, but it was earning a bit, and he could put that back into,
Now, Lyrical Commission were not on Cultures 2?
No, Bob Balance was. Yeah.
So why weren't Lyric? Did you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But Bob Balance was.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
And then once Cultures 2 drops, it smashes number 1.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you expected that it would smash number 1.
Got Triple J album of the week as well, which just sent it to like another.
Yeah, another level. And then, so what songs were they spinning off
Deltas
for the Kings?
Yeah, Solomon Kleptos. There's a few, there's about 4 that were on pretty heavy.
So that actually, Culture Kings 2 actually got spun on Triple J.
Yeah, it was,
but not daytime.
No. It was their album of the week.
So it even got daytime.
That was
spins.
the first Oz hip hop.
Wow.
That was like their feature album for the week.
So so that got daytime spins.
Oh yeah, like two an hour or something, man. It was and talked about during each. Yeah, it was nuts, man. It just laid the, And that came about through Kirk. Kirk knew, what's his name? Kirk knew someone, and it was like a bottle of vodka or something that he paid him to do it. And the dude, I think he might have even been working there or whatever, and they have like a weekly meeting to decide. And he, dude put it on the table and said, this is happening, and the sheer size of it, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, were you bugging out?
Yeah.
You get
Kirk,
a daytime.
I remember getting the call from Kirk saying, what's his name? Oh, man.
Kingsmill.
Oh, no, yeah, that's the dude from Triple J. But the dude Kirk knew to get it in there. He phoned him and said, I think you've got a pretty good chance of getting album of the week or whatever. And Kirk told me, what the fuck? Like, this is going to go nuts. It did. It was like, and that was the first Aussie hip-hop album, I think. Yeah, and then the Hoods got it for their album afterwards, I think.
Oh.
But it opened a lot of doors, man, it just widened the listening audience.
Because literally Triple J would have had really no idea about any of these artists.
No.
So that would have, basically that could have potentially been the first time that Triple J's caught on to the Hoods.
And Listen SL.
And everyone else.
You know, like, yeah.
Wow.
Well, not necessarily the Hoods or whatever, because they probably already may have known of them, I'm not sure, but it certainly opened doors.
Yeah. It's definitely put things on their radar.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
and you had a solid end. That's a pretty big...
Yeah, that's one of the best things to come from it all, man. Just that opening there. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
wow.
You know, it just opened a lot of people, you know, during the day. So, this is happening here, like, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because, like, even if you get Album of the Week on Triple J now, in 2021, that still sends motherfuckers, like, doing backflips and shit.
Yeah.
To get it then off a compilation when
Aussie hip-hop
was not on mainstream anything is a massive accolade.
Yeah.
Well done. I didn't know that shit.
There were a lot of people involved, man. It's me all pulling strings and everyone as well.
Well, to everyone involved. But that's I didn't know that, man. A lot of people must have been happy with you that week.
Yeah. And that's why, like, when people talk about, like, contracts and from this, looking back at that period, it did exactly what it was meant to do, man. It was like a promotional thing for the scene to...
And then you can springboard.
You can do whatever
that.
you want from it. Look what dudes did, you know?
Now, I guess on that topic, you know, on the first one, you had a couple people come back and say, we would like some royalties because it's done well. And that had, 15, 18, 20 people on it.
Yep.
This has got 44 tracks on it. This has made way more money. So I'm going to assume or guess that more people came back asking for money. Nah.
Basically, because at the start, when I approached people, I've promised them that they'd be going into States to do shows.
And that was the thing.
That was like the thing, man. Like,
that's what people wanted.
Yeah, and at that stage, oh, great, we're going to get to go. Like, Downside came here. Downside, I think, went to Sydney as well. And I tried to get everyone that was moving around like jigs. It was crazy, hard to do. But everyone got shows.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So then how much? Because off the first one, I think we
brought Crixus from Tasmania up here to Adelaide to do and that's the first time he would have performed in. Yeah.
So if the first one you just did Adelaide and Melbourne, the second one you did the same? Or
no,
did you do more?
Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney. I'm not sure if we did Brisbane. I don't think we did Brisbane, no.
So you did the 3 shows on the second one.
The
all
Sydney
successful?
One, yeah, real good.
Okay, and then so at this point, everyone's happy. No one's asking for money. No one's complaining.
Not
it's
to me.
All thumbs up across the board.
Yeah. Multiple thumbs up.
Killer.
Yeah.
And then obviously, it's the year after that the Hoods have dropped what they've dropped, which we discussed. And then after that, is it 2004 where Terra Firma drops?
Yep. Waking the Past.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's the first of 2 albums.
Yep.
Right? So that's 04. And that's the one that has the song The Nights That Heaven Cried with Jody. Well, that was recorded 4 or 5 years prior to that. What's the other song on there? Something on the land.
Shadow Society.
That.
Yeah.
There was another one. I can't remember. There was a few, man. It's a great album. There was definitely those 2, and there was another one that I can't remember the name of.
I'm on a Horse stands out for me. That's a good one.
Could have been that. So I don't know the name of it. I heard it. I know it. But nevertheless, that's come out. By this point, you guys have already, you got Cultures 1 and 2 under the belt. You've done X amount of shows. It's really like kicking off now. The rest of the country's in tune. When you guys dropped that, how did that release do? And what were your expectations and anticipations?
We didn't really anticipate it doing anything, really. We just wanted to get it out and done, because a lot of the tracks on there either had already been on other compilations. Was it with Pegs and Reason? Now I'm Somewhere. That was on Obesity. That was on our album as well. So basically, everything that was on it was almost already released. We just wanted to get it as all grouped together, put out, and then we started immediately on the next one. You know, from there.
Okay.
So basically, just get that out. We did heaps of shows for it as well, but still had in mind starting a new one.
Because that was already old material.
Yeah.
And I think Simplex told me it's just like Nights of Heaven Cried. It like got picked up by the radio like years later.
Yeah.
So it was recorded in like late 90s, then released in 04, and then didn't get picked up by the radio.
Years later, they were here pretty much like 5 times a day. It was crazy.
So that project is like a 10-year project. Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And then, so did you guys like move a lot of units of that? Because by that point, you've obviously had a reputation and a name.
Simo keeps a track of all of that, and he runs it with an iron fist. We never get to find out about numbers.
Gotta love that.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it was all right. It was better. I remember it doing better than what we thought, because everything had already been released. But yeah, it was just good to get it out and done, you know. And as one big group.
Yeah, knock it out and then move on to the next
fresh
thing.
Material.
Now, is it the year after that you guys, or that you did Culture Kings 3?
Yep.
That's okay. So the Terra Firma album was 04.
And then there's Culture Kings 2, then there's Obesity, then there's our album, and then by the time Culture Kings 3 came around, like I was even debating whether or not to even do it with Simo or whatever. Like, even Simo was like, oh, you know, like, it's because Obesity had come out, and it was like everyone, I myself, man, I was worn out from it all, and I was sick.
You would be.
Yeah, and so basically Pegs and I went 50-50 in it, and he picked 50% he organised 50% of tracks, I organised, you know, and it was like, man, by the time it was released, I liked that artwork the best, like Mexi did from Hospice or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, I was just a bit over it.
You were done.
I was done, yeah.
And so did that one, I remember the
compilation fatigue.
Yeah.
Undiagnosed.
I remember that one, it had a few good joints on it.
And there's a couple of...
Draft had one on there.
I think, he's a... Yeah.
Oh, what's that called? Misunderstood, man.
Yeah.
That's banging. I remember that. Did Delta have a joint on there?
Yeah, One More Dose, I think.
That's it. I remember that one.
Yep.
And
we've got Plans and Schemes. I think Raf's got a track on there. By that stage, it was like, I don't know.
Winding Down.
Yeah, and I wasn't like...
As epic as...
Yeah, and I wasn't as enthused to... I was, tired of it all.
Would it have been harder? Because obviously by that point, like, the Hoods are through the roof, Bliss and Nessa are through the roof. Like, there would have been certain names that you would have liked to have gotten, but just couldn't.
No, I never looked at it like that. There's no one that, you know, I wanted to approach but didn't want to or whatever. I didn't think I'd be able to get. I just, By that stage, basically, Peg picked 50% of the tracks, I picked the other. And
then that was it.
Yeah, and
you just got it done, put it out.
Released,
And although I'm going to assume it wasn't as successful as the second one.
Yeah, no, it wasn't as successful as the second one. The second one by a mile was the best one.
But it was still a success to some degree.
Yeah.
And you walked away pretty happy saying, look, I've got these 3 compilations under my belt. And you knew.
It set the path for a lot of dudes as well. And I was like, this is enough.
And so that would have been, so that's 06.
I think, yep.
Ish,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And then 2 years later, Terra Firma comes back with Music to Live By. It was a very good album.
Yeah.
And you had that DJ...
Recollection?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And obviously as a DJ, I remember hearing that. I was just like, what the fuck, man?
This was like a year.
Yeah, I was like, because I'd made songs like that.
Yeah.
And they'd taken me just under a year.
Yeah.
But yours sounded way more polished. And I was just like, this must have taken him so long.
Yeah, it was when Simo was living at Pat, and he'd basically just, you know, I'd go around and just record by myself. And then at the last minute, it was all done. And then he just goes, no, we're changing the beat. And then scrapped it. And I was like, had to start again. And had heaps of fun doing it though. It was wicked. It was really good, man. Like, just trying to find all the cuts. It was great.
Now, I missed the launch night of that.
Yep.
But I've heard all about it. And I heard, Simo told me about it. Other dudes that were just there as fans told me all about it. you sold it out, but
Yeah.
didn't think or expect that you were going to sell it out. Because HQ then was 1,200, man. That's not, that's
That was good. It was
big.
top night, man. Like all of our parents and stuff were there. It was like it had a really good feel about the whole thing. Yeah, we didn't get on till heaps late. Yeah,
I remember you saying like 1 or 2 in the morning.
It was late,
ridiculous
man. Like, it
shit.
was proper late. And I was like, whoa. Looked up, my parents like on the balcony. My mum was like half asleep. It was funny, man. It was good.
Now, at this point, I can only imagine because I've never sold 1,200 tickets to someone to come see me do anything, right? I might have played in front of 1,200, but they didn't pay to see me. I'm just a warm-up act. So I'm just going to imagine, like, at that point, you do 1,200 in your home city. You didn't drop for 4 years. Yeah. Right?
But in that, we were still doing heaps of shows.
You're still doing heaps of shit, whether it's features, shows, just that and the third. But, 4 years in between releases, to do that, were you guys kind of looking like, fuck, like, where do we go from here?
Yes
like,
and no, man. It's always, for me anyway, like I've always seen it as having lived with Debris and seen how they were set up as the hoods. Like, that basically, even way back then, I'm talking like back once again, they had like, they had a meeting about like plans and schedules. And we were completely opposite, man. We were lucky to get all 4 of us in the same room. Like, it was hard going, man. Getting all
Herding
4 of
cats.
us. No, it was proper. I don't know how Simo put up with it, man. Like, like if it wasn't me, like, going, I can't make
someone else is not being able to do it. Yeah.
And like Raf, especially went through a period of just like
loose unit.
Yeah, like I think he used the same excuse 4 times on like I've got a flat tire, but each time it's a different. You know what I mean? Which tire is it? This? And it started to get like real, like this isn't how it's meant to be done, kind of thing. And it was, I can only imagine Simo would have been like frustrated with it all.
Because he would have been able to see, like, we've got something here.
Yeah, and plus he's the one putting it all together, and it's like, I just need you dudes to, like, Yeah, just
sort of just play your role, and we can continue to do this with success, but it's hard to get everyone to play their role.
Like, got other shit going on or whatever, and it was just, like, pretty disjointed.
And then after that, I mean, that was it. There was no more Terra Firma music. Simplex drops, is it Audio Biography?
Yep.
I think 09. I can't remember, but it was after Music to Live By.
Yep.
Now, a couple of key questions that, myself as well as a few others have always wondered in all this. So number one, certified wise, established in the Culture of Kings time. At some point in time, that sort of dismantled or stopped, and Golden Era Records was formed. And some of the guys from Certified went over to GE. So obviously the Hoods, Fun Cause. I don't know if Vance was certified. I can't remember. Was he said?
I don't know. I've no idea.
But nevertheless, he ends up on GE. But I think it was like the Fun Cause and the Hoods are the guys from Certified that went over to GE. Now, what I, as well as some other people always wondered is, how did Terra Firma not end up on GE? Now, I'll give you some fan speculation. Right? And you can tell me what you think of this, because this is always interesting. So, something that one person told me that they thought might be the thing was Hoods and Terra Firma were not the same act, but kind of similar pockets, similar-ish. Okay. And perhaps there was some sort of competitive thing there, and maybe that's why the merge didn't happen. Is that what do you think? Do you think there's any truth to that, or is that just fans talking?
Yes, it's fans talking. Yeah. Sounds like a big fat blogger somewhere eating like, like
trying to come up with shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what?
Some dude that hasn't seen sunlight for like 2 weeks. I don't know, man. Like, sure, there was things happen over time as well, man. Like fallouts or whatever. Like, a couple of things happened, and it wasn't the same as, so like the relationships were not the same.
Yeah,
it all changed, kind of, basically. Yeah. a couple of things happened here and there along the way, and it was it is what it is. Like,
okay. And obviously things that you don't care to disclose.
No, not really don't care to disclose. I don't really care about, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. It went that way, and
So basically, though, for what you're saying is that at that point where that's happened, the relationship was a little bit different to what it might have been a few years prior to that, and maybe that's why.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Because I also always found that
make no mistake, man. Like, there's no beef or anything. It's just like
no.
You know what I mean? It's just like maybe it wasn't the right fit or whatever, and it's like, I mean, there's a couple of strong personalities in Terra Firma that may have you know what I mean? Like, it's
just I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because from a fan's perspective, it's like if you're putting like this super duper crew. It only made, in our eyes, Terra Firma was a super duper group.
That makes sense, yeah.
So it was like, you got the hoods, you got the oars. Well, just to us, it's just like it's Terra Firma. It's like, why not?
Like that,
and we never.
I never gave it any thought at all, man. Like I'm
no, there you go.
Why am I on in that? I'd be on the phone to Simon. Fuck, man, I don't care.
But this is the sort of things that fans,
100%.
Fans talk about.
Yeah, no, I've never given that very much thought at all.
And I guess the other one. So I heard a few years ago that because Simplex definitely never got spins on Triple J, if I'm not mistaken, like for audio biography.
Okay.
And I don't think Terra Firma really got picked up on the J's at any point in time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Right? But songs like We Likes to Party, The Nights the Heavens Cried, kind of just felt like they belonged on the radio when other songs are also getting rotation on the radio. Now, I heard that back in the Cultures 1 era, there was a bit of an issue with How, and then that was the reason why, because then How's gone and done the Triple J show.
Oh, yeah.
And then because of that issue, that's why when Terra Firma has done things, that's why Terra Firma or Simplex never got any love on the J's.
I don't know. Like I had heard that it had some sort of problem with me personally regarding it. Him thinking from number one, he was owed like money or whatever
from the first Culture Kings.
Yeah. So basically, this is what I'd heard, and then like I'm not with how he's come to that conclusion. I'm not sure. Whatever, maybe because of the two people I did sort out have then it's filtered back to him that this has happened for us, this should be happening for you, blah blah blah, whatever. That's my take on it. But he has had my phone number hasn't changed in 25 years. Do you know what I mean? I've never received a phone. So if he does have a problem, first thing I do is pick up the phone and phone someone. This is owed to me.
So you've never had a conversation?
Man, I've never had this conversation with, and he's had an opportunity where one night he approached someone in Terra Firma and said, "Where the fuck's fucking dying?" Blah blah blah, like with a huff and a puff, and the person is just there. He never comes and spoke to me once. So I don't know if he does have a problem.
Yeah, right. So basically,
he's never approached me personally about it. When my phone number's on the back of Culture Kings too. You know what I mean?
So you've heard from other people that he wasn't happy, but you've never heard anything yourself
directly. No, man. He's had more than one opportunity to.
And so when you were talking about Culture,
I don't really, to be honest with you, man. If he does or he doesn't have a problem with it, I don't.
It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. And I don't really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he does have a problem, he can take it to the grave with him, man, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is a long time ago.
I'll write him like a full fake, like money order. Just send it into Triple J.
Fucking hell, mate.
Or a big stack of Monopoly money or something.
You're going to get me in trouble, man.
No, but fuck, man, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not having a go at him or whatever, but if he does have an issue, just pick up the phone.
Well, because the interesting thing is, I agree. If you've got an issue with someone in general, you just call them.
Play Chinese whispers about it, you know what I mean?
So, but what you're saying is, because when we were speaking about Cultures 1, you said a couple of people approached you.
Yep.
He wasn't one of those people.
No.
And so
that's my take.
Because people talk, and so maybe he got wind.
From who did get paid, I know that they've in contact. So.
Oh, that bit you know for a fact.
Oh, well, yeah. So. If that is where it's, I mean, that's my take on the whole thing, but I don't care. So,
But yeah, and you don't know because it was never a conversation.
Yeah, it's still on. I've posted it to him. It's on its way. You know, fuck, man. Yes.
Well, shout outs to How if you're listening, man.
No, it's not a slur on you at all, man.
No,
I don't know.
no.
I'm sure, like, you know what I mean? But fuck.
But again,
I mean,
one of those fan-fueled questions,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's like, it's probably like that. Was it OzHipHop.com?
The forum.
Yeah, probably some fat fuck on there, you know? This shit drives me to tears, man.
Probably
You know what I mean?
the same dude that came up with
like
the other thing.
all the threads and shit. Like,
And
it's all so negative, man.
And I said this to you before, like there was some rumor that off one of the compilations you'd made like 50K and were driving around in some brand new car.
It was a rental.
But like I'm going to assume that there's no truth to that.
Nah, it was a little period there where I had a chauffeur. You know?
You had a chauffeur.
Someone called. Nah, man, fuck. Sounds like me, man. That's ridiculous.
I thought for a second
Yeah.
you might have for a week or two just balling out on culture and Kings royalties.
Just like spent all the money in like 2 weeks.
Again, these are things that I've heard that, you know, when I get in these rooms, I'm going to have to ask you because you never know. Maybe
dudes that have like never done anything and just sat behind a keyboard. You know what I mean? Just like making up. Yeah, fuck, who cares, man? It's like, yeah, wow. I'm going to post this about someone and, man, just slur, send. It's fucked, man.
Well, look, I guess that puts those, you know, those stories or rumors to rest.
Yeah.
You know, that takes us all the way up until 2009 after the Terra Firma, Simplex done his solo thing.
Yep.
Now, since then, there's been a couple of bits and pieces. Like, I mean, prior to that, in 2007, you did some cuts on Declassified.
Yeah, man.
Which is Damos.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess...
That was so good to be a part of.
Wait, tell me what you think. Like, because you would have been previewed to a lot of that music before it dropped, obviously, because you're doing cuts.
Yep.
Did you hear those punchlines and just be like, "Hey, man, this dude's going to piss off a lot of people"?
No, I never really took any of them as... in my opinion, the way people should look at it is it's good to be mentioned. Do you know what I mean? None of them are like massive slurs on... or there's... Yeah, probably one about anecdotes, jawbone or whatever. That one's, you know, could probably be, you know, Whiteland, you know, but none of it was in like major malice or whatever.
Nah.
It was just like real play on words and like, you know.
Very clever. Incredible.
So, and plus, man, like he was such, like all the people I've seen record with Simo, he'd be booked in at like 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. He'd turn up at like 10 to. Simo would be like just getting up, whatever, coming. What do you want to do? And he'd be like, this is first, and all laid out, like his 3 or 4 hours that he's got with Simo or whatever, all laid out. He just knows what he wants to do. And he'd go to me, I want cuts on this track, here, and here, about this, and this. You're like, just super organised.
He knew what he wanted.
And just super talented, man. Like I remember first time seeing him, just like, dude, like he'd rock up in like Australian cricket, like yellow Guernsey, shorts and thongs. And be like, and you just get in there and just tear it apart, man. I'll be like, this dude is. The first one that was recorded was the last track on the album. I think Ian Thorpe reference and shit, you know. That was the first. And that was done about 2 years earlier.
Yeah, right.
And I had done the cuts on that straight away, and it was like, I can't wait to hear the rest of it. So good.
And in that time, everyone that was rapping in Adelaide was really coming out the south side.
Yep.
And he was actually like the first dude out of the north side.
Yeah,
like heavy north.
Yeah. What is it? I come from the north side, so of course I got to snatch props. You know, like it's so good, man. It's so many. I still listen to that, man. Do
you remember that line that he had? And you know, I was laughing about it with Disaster because I heard because I've heard on Battle Hogs 3.
Yep.
I've heard Battle Hogs 3.
Okay.
Never got released.
Oh yeah.
And that has a Hunter solo where it's firing back at Damo because Damo had a line like my sense of humor is darker than the brown guy from Downside or something like that. And then he had another one. It's just like battling me is something like you're asking for disaster like heads at Hunter shows or something like that.
Yeah, so he took it as a diss.
Yeah, obviously.
It's just play on words.
And I've heard And I'm like, oh man, like I can't believe that this never got released, man.
I don't know. I didn't, when we were doing it, I didn't think of it as this is going to be offensive to people. It was just like, you should be liking that you mentioned because it's all part of the scene.
But you obviously noticed that once it was released, people took offense to it.
Yeah.
Or some
100%.
people took offense to it.
Yeah.
Like I heard Hijack and Torture just like wouldn't let him come to Sydney. I don't remember what the line was. I asked Bones about it. He said he didn't know nothing about it.
Wouldn't let him come to Sydney.
Some shit. This again, man. Like,
you have to go through them to get to Sydney.
Maybe it was a dude on Oz Hip Hop Forum making that shit up.
But it's a great album, man. It's like...
Oh, it's incredible. It's the best punchline rap album from Australia ever.
Reminds me of Chino Excel's first
album. I was
album.
just about to say. They actually have a track together, man.
Wow.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, hey? It's like 2-3 years old.
Killer.
And as soon as I seen the credits, I was just like, this is like meant to be.
Yeah, he phoned me up. Oh, it's got to be 5 or 6 years ago now to do cuts on. I forget. He was working with someone from the States to do it, but it just never eventuated or whatever. Forget what it was for. But yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's super talented.
Oh, man.
Super talented, man. One of the best rappers I've heard from the country.
We have been trying to get DAMO on here.
Yeah.
And he rocked up once.
Yeah. I
thought he rocked up for an interview.
Yeah.
Dude rocked up just to say g'day. Haven't seen him in like 15 years.
Killer.
Pops in to say g'day. I'm like, are you getting a chair? And he's just like, nah. It's just like, I just came here to say hello. And we're just like, dude.
Yeah.
And then every time we put up on like the polls, who would you like to us to interview? It's always Brad Strutt, Pegs, and DAMO.
Yep. Yeah, there was only one that we didn't... One I remember that he had written, and I think it got recorded, and Sim was like, nah, you can't have that. And it was something about like the way Pegs throws his voice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, and it was something to do with that. And we're like both straight away like, nah, dude, like, and that kind of did have a tone of like,
okay.
So that's the only one I remember
that just wasn't allowed on
plus,
the album.
Yeah, I don't in any way want to offend, and he wouldn't either, man. Like Pegs is a serious dude.
I've heard.
You can, yeah.
I've heard.
And plus, like, my relationship with him goes right back, and and when I heard it, I'm like, oh, that does sound a bit
offensive.
And I'm pretty sure Sim said, no, dude, we're not recording. And he deleted it, and it got rewritten to someone else or whatever.
Yeah,
that's the one I remember, man.
The rest got the tick of approval.
Yeah, the rest of them are like green light, green light.
Word. And I guess last question before we get out of here. You guys obviously performed at a lot of festivals, concerts.
Yep.
You know, you name it.
Yep.
You guys did it. I guess most memorable show, and in particular, like, you guys opened up for Cool Keith and Digital Underground.
Yep.
At some point.
And yeah, we did shows with Digital Underground here in, I think, Melbourne and Sydney. That was awesome. Cool Keith was a festival in Sydney at Luna Park.
Weird unit, hey.
Yep.
Tell us what you...
Proper. Yeah, like he had all these weird riders and stuff, and I just remember like everyone tearing their hair out backstage, basically. He ordered, there was a tray of fried chicken, like, I'm not kidding you, it was enormous. But the worst thing I remember from that, I'm pretty sure it was the Alchemist DJing for him. Because we did that show, but we basically got given a terrible time, like 1 PM or something, and we're like, that's not going to happen. So we just basically left Luna Park and reappeared at like 5:30. And the chick's like, what the fuck, like, where have you been? So she chucked us on. We kind of like threw the whole schedule out for the show. He got on late and he goes to initially it started with the dude running the stage. This poor dude, he just goes, I need a fresh martini before I go on. To this poor dude running the stage, man. I was just like ringside for it, man. I'm like, oh, where are you going to get that from? I just remember it straight away. Where are you going to... And he goes, oh, he ran off like his headset and they got the promoter, the dude running the whole thing. He goes, what do you need? He goes, fresh martini. And the dude like took 30 minutes. I don't know where they got it from. But by this stage, they're late on. Everyone's pelting the stage with shit, like bottles and that. Everyone's booing. He comes on, jumps on stage. Like Alchemist goes to press the first. And he gets the martini. Doesn't even...
Oh, he threw it!
Held onto the glass, but just threw it out into the...
It took him half an hour to get it.
Ridiculous, man. I was thinking like, whoa. Like, it's cool. He can do what he wants. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's a weird unit, man.
Oh, yeah, but I was like, straight away, I was like, fuck, that's fucked. Like, I just thought to myself, that's awful. But Karma, halfway into the first track, power out. He kicked a cord or something underneath the thing, and that man, more booing. I was like, ugh, there's no more martinis, you know? Like, yeah, it was instant karma.
When I met him, he was cutting sick at me because at soundcheck after soundcheck, he asked me where the porn stores are at, like the Triple X stores. Yeah. And I know where they were at, so I was just like, I got no idea, but we're on Hindley. Just walk up and down the strip. And he just turns around to me and he's like, what the fuck you mean you don't know where the pussy stores is at? And looked at me like there was something wrong with me. And I'm thinking, dude, there's something really wrong with you.
I could have given him like GPS coordinates. Here. What hour are you thinking? And just giving him like full rundown.
I just figured, well, Hindley, man, you can just walk out of there and fall into one.
That's Carlos, actually, that did the Full Effect mag and has just done the new Time Bomb magazine. He toured with, he was a tour manager with a punk band throughout America. And he met him at some obscure, and they hit it off and had a massive night. Yeah, he's like
massive night with Cool Keith.
Yeah, just like, oh, he's a white dude from Australia. He's he's the only white dude there. Like, yeah, weird cat, huh?
The last TV.